Have you ever wondered where the concept of anti-imperialism originated? Like many ideologies, anti-imperialism has a rich and complex history, rooted in the struggles of nations and peoples against colonial conquests and imperial domination. It's a tale of resistance, resilience, and the quest for self-determination. The seeds of anti-imperialism were planted in the early encounters between colonizers and indigenous cultures. As colonial powers sought to extend their territories, they were often met with resistance from native populations who sought to protect their lands, cultures, and ways of life. These early struggles laid the groundwork for the anti-imperialist movements that would emerge later. Fast forward to the 19th century, a time of rapid colonial expansion. Anti-imperialism began to take shape as an organized, political, and ideological stance. It was during this period that we saw the emergence of powerful anti-colonial movements in places like India and Africa, where people rallied against foreign domination and exploitation. However, it was in the 20th century that anti-imperialism truly came into its own. The decolonization movements of this era marked a significant turning point. From the jungles of Vietnam to the plains of Africa, from the streets of India to the islands of the Caribbean, people across the globe were rising up to challenge the colonial powers. They demanded independence, asserting their right to self-determination. These movements were not without their challenges. They faced formidable opposition, often leading to protracted struggles and even armed conflict. Yet, they persevered, driven by a fervent belief in their cause. Their struggles were not in vain. Many nations successfully threw off the yoke of colonial rule, marking a significant milestone in the evolution of anti-imperialism. The 20th century decolonization movements left an indelible mark on history. They reshaped the world map, redefined international relations, and inspired countless other movements for justice and equality. Their legacy continues to resonate today, reminding us of the power of collective action in the face of adversity. Decolonization movements of the 20th century marked a significant milestone in the evolution of anti-imperialism. Scene script. Fast forward to today, how does anti-imperialism manifest in our current socio-political climate? In the modern world, the spirit of anti-imperialism thrives, evolving with changing times and emerging challenges. It's no longer just about resisting physical colonial rule, but also about challenging subtler forms of domination and control. One of the most prominent arenas where anti-imperialism is alive and kicking is the resistance against neo-colonialism. Neo-colonialism represents a new form of imperialism, where powerful nations and corporations wield influence not through overt military occupation, but through economic and political pressures. This could be in the form of foreign debt, trade agreements, or political interventions that subtly undermine the sovereignty of weaker nations. Furthermore, the critique of hegemonic foreign policies is a critical aspect of modern anti-imperialism. Powerful nations often use their influence to shape global politics to their advantage, sometimes at the expense of less powerful nations. Anti-imperialists challenge this dynamic, advocating for a more equitable international order. Military interventions are another focal point of anti-imperialist critique. Often carried out under the guise of humanitarian aid or peacekeeping, these interventions can result in power imbalances, territorial disputes, and even cultural erasure. Anti-imperialists argue that these actions often serve the interests of the intervening powers rather than the people they purport to help. Lastly, economic exploitation is a recurring theme in anti-imperialist discourse. Powerful nations and multinational corporations are often accused of exploiting the resources and labor of less developed nations, perpetuating a cycle of inequality and dependency. Anti-imperialists call for fair trade practices and equitable economic relationships that respect the rights and autonomy of all nations. In the face of these challenges, anti-imperialism fights on, adapting and innovating to resist new forms of domination. It's not just a political stance, but a call for justice, a demand for respect, and a fight for a more equitable world. In a world where power imbalances persist, the voice of anti-imperialism continues to grow louder. So, what does the future hold for anti-imperialism? As we gaze into the crystal ball of geopolitics, we can identify some potential solutions to the concerns raised by anti-imperialist movements. One key approach is promoting equitable international relations. This involves advocating for a fairer distribution of resources, political influence, and opportunities among nations. Moreover, supporting self-determination for marginalized communities is crucial. This means standing up for the rights of those communities to decide their own path, free from external interference or coercion. And let's not forget the importance of fair trade practices and global governance structures. These can help ensure that economic benefits are shared more evenly, and that policies and decisions are made in a way that respects the rights and interests of all, not just the powerful few. While the road may be long and fraught with challenges, the pursuit of a more just and equitable global order continues, fueled by the spirit of anti-imperialism.